Hey everybody, how's it going? Janine here again, and I'm really excited to bring to you some thoughts about how you can use your human design energy type to access your radiance and to stop playing small, stop living as a people pleaser or a doormat, which so many of us do. Um, I haven't even picked the title for this free training, I'll call it, because I'm really just going after a quick inspiration. I was listening to the podcast that Mike Birbiglia's podcast. You guys know this comedian? He's so funny. I love stand-up comedy. It's one of my favorite pastimes. It's something that I listen to on my own constantly, especially whenever I need to pick me up. I turn on Mike Birbiglia or Gary Goldman or John Heffron or Justin McKinney. And just brings me a laugh. I just love comedians. So anyway, I was listening to Mike Birbiglia's podcast, Working It Out, and he had as his guest on the show Rachel Feinstein, which she is freaking hilarious. I'd heard her name, but I didn't really know her before I heard the podcast. And if you aren't familiar with his show, he has comedians come on and they talk about the bits that they're working out that are going to be in their next act. She has a current special on Netflix, I guess, that's just brand new. And so I can't wait to watch that. But she's working out some new material for the next time around. And that's what they work together, like, oh, is this joke funny? I don't know. And so I love that behind the scenes, that you get to see how they actually come to what's going to be on the special, that you get to watch someday. Anyway, so she's talking about this bit she's working on, where she notices in her daughter, who's little, like 8 or 6 or something like that. She's trying to instill in her like this badass, like feminist ideal, to be, stand up for herself and to be her whole authentic self. She didn't use those words exactly, but that's what I'm listening with my human design hat on. That she recognizes, however, that her little girl is not necessarily taking a seat at the table. She's not taking up the space that she deserves to take up in the world, that she's how did she couch it? That she's giving people an out. So for example, she said to her friend, do you want to come to my birthday party or not? And it's the or not that she's asking, is this funny? Should I make a joke out of this? Is it? But it's it's something that the mother, Rachel Feinstein, notices that she knows she does this herself. Do you want to come to my show or not? Do you want, and I do it too, right? Like we all do it. All women do this. Like, do you want to give me that job or not? Because no, you could totally pass me up because I probably am not going to be very good at it anyway. And it's similar to like, there was an Amy Schumer bit a few years ago, many years ago, when she was like a nobody, right? That she had a show where a bunch of women girlfriends were hanging out, and somebody compliments somebody else, like, oh, you have a nice shirt. And she answers like, oh my God, I'm so fat. And like we all do that. We intentionally or not, consciously or unconsciously, we undercut ourselves so much that we miss opportunities. We are so afraid to be our full empowered selves that we do pass up jobs. I've done it. Like, oh, it's totally okay. Oh, you're hired, Janine. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna not take that because I don't think I'm gonna do a good enough job. Um, we um, we do so many things to not take that seat at the table that we were born deserving to take, and that we don't want to take up the space in the room because of so many different reasons as we were little girls, young women, teenagers, so many things, that experiences that made us feel shameful or embarrassed. And so we all, in our own unique different ways, learn to play small and learn to undercut ourselves and learn to give people an out from being with us and feeling our full magnitude, and from experiencing the full authenticness of who we really are, our radiance. Okay. So I'm trying to tell you guys in every way possible that you're each your own unique, radiant badass, right? Like, I just released the workbook and I so want you guys to check this out. It's going to give you all the gates in your human design chart. But what I want to focus on today is to give you an introduction, like the foundational piece, which is how you can use your type, your energy type, to discover and gain access to that radiance that you really do have, and to stop undercutting yourself, and to stop giving people the out and not saying to them, do you want to come to my party or not? Like, you totally don't have to, because I'm probably not good at, you probably don't want to be my friend. We probably don't want to hang out. So do you want to hang out or not? Do you want to go get coffee or not? Because if not, it's totally cool, right? We do that. So it got me thinking about the different ways that we arrive at this place where we're undercutting ourselves, and especially women, but guys do it too. I see it. Um, and so much of it can be based upon the fact that we are individuals, and we have these different energetic types, but we're often trained to operate as though we're all one type, because it would be weird to do something different and to be somebody different than the basic idea of what we have listed out in our culture as acceptable. And it would be too offbeat to be yourself. So please don't be yourself. That gets us so jammed up, but we fucking do it anyway. So here are some of the ways. If you look at your human design chart, please pull that for free on either my website or any of the million other places you can get your free human design chart. And you might not know what it means. It's got lots of symbols and lots of shapes and colors and lines and numbers, but I'm going to give you the full culmination of the synthesis of the whole darn thing, which pulls together and describes your type. Okay, this is like the very first piece that I want you to familiarize yourself with. And then if you choose to start learning what the numbers mean, then you get your Radiant Badass toolkit and you start working on your workbook, and then you were going to be flying high with your radiance. So, okay, so here's the thing. Here's what we do wrong to undercut ourselves by human design type. Generators. I love you guys so much. You bring so much sparkle to the world and so much joy. And you make us feel seen and welcome. Like, thank God you're the people who, like, I can walk up to in a crowd and know immediately, now that I know what to look for, that the generators are like exuding warmth and openness. You guys are hardwired as the workers, the producers. You're here to do the work that lights you up. You are the joy chasing creators. You bring something that was just the germ of an idea, you make it so, you bring it into reality, you execute, you bring things over the finish line, you create something out of almost nothing. You're willing to jump in, you're extraordinarily helpful, your loyalty knows no bounds, your sense of duty is admirable, but that can jam you up, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But the generators are the doers. You guys are the doers, and without the doers, we would be freaking nowhere in life. But where the doers tend to start undercutting themselves, listen up. If this is you, if your human design chart says generator next to type, you guys have this internal sorting mechanism, I call it, and it's mechanically speaking, it's called your defined sacral center. And on the chart, it's the second shape up from the very bottom, dead center. It's going to be lit up a color. Different widgets use different colors. It's probably black or red or some whatever. Doesn't matter. It's just not white. It's not blank. The sacral is lit up, and that is an extremely magnetic AF tool inside your body that draws into it all manner of people and things and opportunities and situations. You are being, life is spreading out before you like this buffet that's constantly open. We just got back from an Alaska cruise. I've never been on a cruise before, and it was that fucking buffet was open all day. And you had Japanese food, you had Indian food, you had American food, you had stuff on the grill, you had soup, and you had salads, and you had desserts, and you had a whole bread area. Like you could go to all these different restaurants in one freaking room, and it was just always available. How do you decide? How do you get not overwhelmed with so many choices in life? That's what jams up the generator, because you have all the choices. And it sounds like I'm pissed off because I don't have all the choices. I'm a different type. But when you have options spread out before you where you get to choose among them, how do you know what's right to choose for you? So an example might be like you got a couple different dudes you're dating or something, or people in your life that like want your attention and want um to spend time with you, or want to offer you a job. You've got choices, right? You're hardwired to use your sacral center, which is constantly like, yes, no, yes, no, ooh, maybe, not so sure. Yes, no. It's sorting for you, but where you get jammed up is start using your mind to make the decisions for you. And so you think about, oh, what would my mother want? What would my spouse want? What do I think is best for my future? What is the most logical thing to do? What would be right for my bank account? What, instead of going with your gut, that sacral life force energy, which is sustainable and regenerative, and it is constantly leading you to joy, which is what you're chasing, and it's constantly leading you to satisfaction, which is what you want. And it's always sorting for you, and it's giving you an indicator about what to pursue, about what's a yes, what's a yes, what am I going to allow into my sphere, or what at the buffet am I not even going to consider? Like, I've tried the stir fry before, and it just didn't agree with me. So I'm just not even going to go to that counter today. What can you push aside? Because if you allow in all of these opportunities, and those can look like obligations, they can look like expectations where you're agreeing to saying yes to stuff that is was never really going to be right for you in the first place. Your sacral's not lighting up saying, yes, I want that. And but you're doing it anyway because you have regenerative life force surging through you, and it will support you for a time, and it will let you do stuff because you can. um, then you're really off track because you're getting out of touch with what your body is designed to tell you that it wants. And then suddenly you're burned out. You're exhausted because you're fulfilling other people's wishes. You're doing things because you think you're supposed to. You're doing things because you're obligated to, because you can, because you have the energy for it. And so you're the one who's going to show up at the PTA meeting, and you're going to do the fundraiser, or you're going to run the meal train for the friend who's in the hospital. And so you're suddenly the coordinator of it all, and you're exhausted. I mean, you're doing so many nice things. And like I said before, like, we would be nowhere without our generator friends. But you're um you're not taught how to listen to your life force, which is constantly choosing yeses and nos for you, and you overrule all of that, and suddenly everybody else's priorities become what you have to follow then, or what you think you have to follow, right? And so that lends itself to then lack of trust in yourself. You're too freaking tired to even know what you want anymore. You have been blindsided by everybody else's obligations and expectations of what you're supposed to accomplish and achieve for them and do for them because you're a doer, that you disregard what you really want for so long that then you're smaller than you could be. You dim your own light. You don't chase joy because there's no room for it in your life anymore, when you're fulfilling obligations for other people. And then that brings on frustration. And like I said, burnout. And so you can switch that up by building some healthy boundaries around what you agree to do, how you agree to spend your life force energy, listening to that gut instinct, and listen to my I did a training a month or two ago about authority, which is really your decision making authority. Not every generator is hardwired to like make an instantaneous decision. So you guys you'll figure out there's some of you are emotional, you just need a little bit more time. So you need to follow your emotions to make sure that what your sacral is lighting up yes toward is really going to be spot on for you. But there is so much that you're not taught about this idea that you're just magnetic as hell and that life just keeps coming at you fast and that you have the power to choose. You don't have to take every option. Okay. Manifesting generators, similar, right? You're doers also. And so you chase all the things and you have a buffet spread out before you too. And you're also likewise capable of doing all the things if you want to. But here's where you guys burn yourselves out more often is thinking you have to finish everything you start. Because manifesting generators are so capable. You're efficiency masters. You're hardwired to be doers, but you also have this ability to be an innovative match striker. And you light the match and you start a thing and you can pick up on a new skill or a new hobby or a new career really, really fast, like faster than most other people. You might get shamed for that because you're so fast. You're oftentimes quicker on the uptick than the teacher of a course is. You've figured it out for yourself. You're able to get the steps down and skip steps that you don't need. It's like you have this ingrained ability to cipher through what's useless and just skip over it. So it's a superpower, but teachers don't like that, do they? They want you to follow all the steps. I had a client recently talking to me about how her son was failing math, even though he knows the answer. He knows the answer by looking at the problem. He's like, duh, but he doesn't want to show the work. And so his teachers fail him. And he's a manifesting generator. And it's so frustrating for him because he's being taught that he's bad, he's wrong, he's in fault. He's in the wrong for not doing the work, but the work to him is a freaking waste of time. And this is jamming up his life force. And so guess what? He's growing up to be someone who's a people pleaser, who doubts himself, who shames himself, who thinks that there's something wrong with him because he can't make himself do this waste of time. So that's what manifesting generators are always out for, the faster way to do things. And the last thing you want in this lifetime in any situation is to have your time wasted. It is so frustrating for you. And so if you get shamed for that, if suddenly that becomes a problem because you won't show your work or because you're getting frustrated with the other people who aren't as quick on the uptick as you are, and then you have a lot of energy running through you, and so you're way over here while everybody's still back over here going, why aren't you're not telling me how to do it enough, I'm not smart enough as you. And so then there's like this disconnect, and you kind of think that you're something must be wrong with you if you don't have tolerance for those people. Oh, I must be mean because I'm not having compassion for these people who are really slow, and there's something wrong with me because I can't be kinder to them. I see this all the time. Then the manifesting generator tends to take a really, really um, self-sabotaging outlook on themselves. And so they will do whatever they need to do to slow themselves down or to be more palatable to the people who are around them. They will force themselves to finish the things that they start that they lose interest in because they mastered it so quickly. They got it and they're ready to move on to the next thing, but they won't let themselves do that anymore if they've learned that they have to power through to the bitter end, if they've learned that it's only right to finish what you start. So they can become so bogged down by all of these false stories about how they're not good enough and how somehow their traits are inconvenient or wrong. Um, for the rest of the world. And so they will morph themselves and undercut and start to make excuses like, well, you can come to my birthday party or not. It's totally cool if you don't want to, because I get it. I get it. People have told me I'm a pain in the ass before. Yeah, so that's something about the manifesting generator. By the way, if you guys ever want to go really deep into this stuff, book a reading and we'll talk about all the things that go on with each of your types plus the other stuff. Um, Manifestors, since I'm there, and we talked a little bit about the manifesting generators, but the straight manifestor, uh, you guys, us guys, that's what I am. You have learned, I'll back up. You're the initiating innovators, extraordinarily creative. You get inspired to do something creative, and then you can completely abandon it once you birth it, or once maybe you don't even birth it. You are empowered with life force when you're ready to create. And so you will spend so much time working frenetically on a new creation for as long as you have the creative urge to do it. When that urge fizzles out, boom, you crash. But you, my friend, uh, we're taught that we have to be the generators. We're taught that we have to be doers. We have to be workers. We have to show up. We have to fulfill the obligations. We have to follow the routine. We have to do the work and be productive just in the same way that the generators are. And when we can't fulfill that, actually, when we're fucking exhausted because we can't keep up with them or because we resent it so much, we get angry. It is so infuriating to try to live your life as a generator and keep failing. And boy, do we come up with a lot of stories that we tell ourselves about how we're crappy people and we're not good enough. Add to that, mechanically speaking, we don't have the sacral center in the sort of the deep gut pelvic area lit up. We have our throat connected to a motor, which four of the shapes you see on your human design chart are considered to be motors, and they provide boom power to motor the rest of the body forward. One of them is going to be attached to the throat. And so, for instance, mine is my emotional solar plexus is attached to my throat. Not attached, it's connected by a full colored in channel, we call it. You'll notice that as like a full colored in line on your chart if you have that. The result of having a motorized throat is that we can be extremely bold. We can have real sassy mouths on us. We can say things before we think them through. As children, we can be very commanding. We can utter proclamations as though we are in charge. And guess who doesn't like that? Basically everyone. Your parents don't like a little child that goes on making proclamations and commands. Your teachers certainly do not like it. So how many times, Manifestor, have you had your mouth washed out with soap? Maybe you're from a different generation and you didn't experience that joy, but I certainly did. Sit in a corner, get grounded to your room for sassing, shooting your mouth off. Sat in the corner at school, put out in the hallway at school for causing a ruckus, for being disrespectful, because we're born into the world thinking like we're like innately hardwired to just like command the room. I walk in here and I say, this is what we're going to do now, because we're initiators, we're innovators. We have a creative idea that's like, everyone should be doing this now. Follow my lead. And nobody does. It's really demoralizing when you make that proclamation, because you're inspired. Life force is working through you, the divine is working through you to give you this creative energy, and you're lit up by it and you think it's the coolest thing ever, and then you share it out loud and you get soap in the mouth for it. That instantaneously will make you undercut yourself. You learn pretty early on to self-edit, to not let those, don't let that out, don't talk, don't say it. And then you soften until you have a really nice voice, and you try to be more palatable, just like the manifesting generator does, because they have a little bit of this too. They have the motorized throat and the sacral lit up, so they're like charged up, ready to um so the manifester is probably the most poised to become a people pleaser, because we recognize really early on that our words and our actions are not welcome. We do not there's a constant power play, a power, what is that called, power disagreement between a manifestor child and the parent. And so you are constantly batting up against, trying to be this commander, um, to wield your full expression, and the parent saying, oh, no, 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 I'm in charge. You back down. And so the little manifester then is like, oh, I guess I'm not anything then. I'm not important. Because we're not, they're in no fault of our parents, right? Like, they didn't know this stuff when they were raising us. If you're an adult and you're watching this, our parents did not have access to this information. They just didn't know. And so there's no problem with it. But now that you know, if you're a parent, you can teach your own kids and you can raise your own kids with this wisdom, to know that, like, oh, if I have a manifestor kid, they're going to be probably sassy. You can empower them with ways to use their life force and to share their urges in a way that is like respectful of the adults in the room. You can teach them to harness their power, by giving them some authority on something, so that they do get to have command over some stuff, that they have some sovereignty. Give them space to be little creatives, because they just want to make stuff. And I'm like trying to choose. There's so many things. I'm going to just stop there, because this is not a parenting arrangement. I do parenting coaching to help parents understand their kids better, and that is not what this is right now. So I'm going to step out of that. Getting too far ahead of myself. My point is, manifestors really do. We do undercut ourselves, and we do fear taking our seat at the table that we deserve. And it's because we've been uh, rejected a lot of times from being bold. Our aura, unlike the generators who are very magnetic, and they're pulling all these buffet choices into their aura, into their orbit, the manifestor is pushing it away. We're pushing other people away unconsciously. Our aura is clearing the decks, it's clearing space so that we can create, because we know, the universe knows, that someone's going to try to stop us and say, your creations aren't welcome here. You can't do this. Um, so we sense that. We sense when our boldness and our frenetic energy for creating is pushing others away. We can see it. I started practicing with this a few years ago once I learned my design and I could walk into a social engagement and notice people literally turn away and walk away from me, giving me space. And it's wild. So when you're little and you sort of start to pick up on that subconsciously, you recognize that, like, hey, wait a second, I got to come closer to you because you're walking away from me. I need your attention. You're not listening. I'm trying to say something and I'm not getting through to you. So you might then become even more bold and try to chase after them. And that rejects that makes them reject you even more. There's so much. This is such rich material. That's why it takes so many years to just sort of like sink into it a little bit at a time. It's hard to crunch down into one paragraph what your type means to you and how it's affected you your whole life. Let's move on. Projectors. Um, projectors are the guides. You're such good analysts. Often referred to as the illuminators, shine a light on what's wrong with this world. Advisors, you're excellent advisors. Your gift is in being able to walk into a situation immediately, subconsciously, read it so that you understand the whole system. You get how this system works. It may not be that you're down on the ground, boots on the ground, sort of looking at the particular details, but you have the bird's eye view. You've got like the aviator pilot's view from the airplane. You can see all the maps, all the roads and bridges, and see how everything interconnects. And you can see exactly where there's a accident over here, and you wouldn't want to you'd tell the cars down below, maybe it's like, okay, maybe it's like the traffic helicopter, right? The news helicopter that gives the traffic report. They're up there so that they can say there's an accident on I-79, or there's a whatever, a bridge out, so don't go that way. The projectors are here to like illuminate that for us. And when the way that y'all start undercutting yourselves is by pointing out those problems when other people aren't interested in hearing them, and so that they come off sounding like really offensive criticisms or constant complaining. You know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. The projector is here to shine a light on what's wrong. This is your superpower. You are gifted. You just got to use it in the right way that doesn't get you rejected. And the way that you do that is to say, hey, I'm really good at analysis, and I have a super good eye. Maybe it's weird, but I have this really good eye for figuring out where the problems are. If you decide you are running into problems and you need help, I'm over here to help. Or bite your tongue a little bit, as much as it pains me to say that, because as a manifestor, I want you to speak. I want you to use your voice. You have, oftentimes you'll have the throat defined, but it won't be connected to a motor. Sometimes you might not have that defined, but you are here to be the guide. And you're so good at doing that. I notice, especially in children, like so willing to help. They love being cast as like the teacher's helper because they're so good at bringing up like, hey, he didn't do the right thing, or you dropped your pen. He didn't put the toys away the right way. You can see where that starts to get you the sort of reputation for a tattletale or a little bit of a nag. Even when I was a preschool teacher, I saw this all the time with my little projectors who were constantly telling me what was wrong in the classroom. And I did notice my shield go up sometimes saying like, I don't care that there's a pen cap on the floor. Pick it up. They're not here to do the work of the fixing is the thing. They're here to tell everybody else just what's wrong. So this is where you're really, really good at it. But you also are here to gain mastery over whatever the hell thing you want to do. And so a way that you can protect yourself from getting rejected, and so that you get invited to share your expertise about all the things you see wrong, is to just go ahead and let yourself enjoy what you're doing, get really good at your own craft. And then when people realize that they did hit into a brick wall with whatever it is they're working on, or when the teacher really needs that pen cap, like, where is it? They're going to ask you, because you're going to have demonstrated over here. I'm not raising any complaints. I'm not telling anybody what they're doing wrong, because I'm going to let them keep screwing up on their own. You're over here just minding your own beeswax, getting really good at what you're doing. And they're like, hey, remember that time you said there was a pen cap on the floor? Could you help me find it now? Because I've torn my hair out. I can't find it. It's just in reading the room, really. It's just in reading the room. What else I noticed with projectors is you guys have this intense gaze. Maybe not every one of you, but there's an energetic exchange that happens through the eyes with a lot of projectors, where you just look at someone very, very casually, but it's intense. It's intense. And because you're reading your intuition, you're like third eye is zooming in on into that person. You're reading their whole system. You are illuminating where things are wrong in that person, and it's so easy for you to see. This is what makes you such a great analyst or an advisor. What a boon to a company to have you just come in there and look and say, oh, I see exactly where y'all are wrong. And be able to vocalize that, because that someone's hired you and they're paying you to point out for them, where has my business gone wrong? That can be when you're talking about like an interpersonal communication kind of setting, where you're just like on a date, or you're meeting a new friend, or you're making a new acquaintance. It can be some people don't want that. Some people are very standoffish and they do not want their innards to be read, right? And so they may feel very vulnerable, while others may feel very seen and recognized by what you're actually offering. It can be so so soft and comforting to have a conversation, in my experience, with a projector, because they get you. They see you. They really see into you, and they're able to understand, and then like see your whole heart. But some people are going to reject that. They don't want to be seen, right? And so just reading the room can help you understand, like, is this person open to me doing my thing where I'm reading them, or should I just like not even bother? Just don't even bother. Don't waste your breath, don't waste your energy, don't waste your time, don't waste your brilliance and your genius and your wisdom, because they're never going to invite your wisdom if they don't want to be seen. The irony is that like you really want to be seen and recognized. I should say that the whole thing about like the intense gaze, like that's the aura that other people experience from the projector, is this focused and penetrating aura. That's how other people experience you, and that can make someone like a manifestor who's pushing everybody away feel very, very validated and seen. So it's very much appreciated by me anyway, but not by everybody. So it's just a matter of reading the room and deciding, like, I don't have sacral life force running through me. Yo, I'm a projector. Like, I'm gonna save my energy for the people who really, really want to be seen and really want my help. Okay. Um, Lastly, always saving the best for last, of course, the reflectors, who are so brilliant, that your job is to show us where we're going really haywire. You demonstrate for us the ridiculousness that the rest of the world, gets ourselves tangled up in. You hold a mirror up in front of us to show us, wow, this is where you guys need to fix some stuff. So the projector is shining a light on what's wrong, and the reflector is holding the mirror up to say, this is what you've done to yourself. Do you see? This is what you've done, and here's how you can fix it. The reflector, mechanically speaking, has none of those shapes on the body graph lit up. They're all white. They might have some numbers lit up in there, but they definitely do. And they have their own energy reserves. They do, but they are absorbing everything from everywhere. They're taking on the any energy that whoever they're around. If they're their community, they might take on the lilt and the language, even if it's a foreign language. They'll be really fast at picking that up because they're going to take it in. They're going to take on other people's life force. They're going to find a way to power through, regardless of whether they actually have the energy or not, because they're going to be able to borrow it from other people who are radiating it outward from their colored in shapes. I'll save that. I'll do a whole thing on the centers at another time. But this is, like, as I said, this is the culmination of all the shapes and numbers and lines all together. What makes a person a projector or a reflector is just that they have all of this openness, which means they're absorbing energy from all over the place. And so they're sampling it. And when they get back into their own space, it would do them a really, really lot of good to just do some energy, brush it off, process it out, get that stuff that you picked up throughout the day out of your body. It's not yours. Get back to your own natural flow, your own juice. Do some yoga, do some meditation, whatever it is. Have some detoxifying tea or something. Where the reflector jams themselves up is assuming that that energy is theirs and that they should hold on to it, and that they have to take on the persona of the people that they're with. But it never feels natural. None of it feels natural to them. It's not sustainable. So then they question themselves when they're in their own skin, in their own room with nobody else around, and they're like, well, wait a second, who am I? I have to live up to the expectation of this person over here. I have to live up to this identity that doesn't even feel natural to me, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's what we do around here, I guess. That's what my friends are doing. That's what my coworkers are doing. And so I guess that's who I am now. And so you constantly become this person who second guesses him or herself and tries to be like everybody else, but it never feels right. And so you can develop this, like, if you don't know about it, you can develop this kind of shame and this kind of self-doubt and distrust of yourself because you're not sure who you're supposed to be at any given moment. If you don't have these practices of building really healthy, strong boundaries around your own energy, you have the choice to say, I'm not going to absorb this shit from somebody, this toxic person in my life, or this toxic town. If a town is toxic to you, if you're getting sick all the time, it's because you're literally absorbing the illnesses that are in your midst. If you remove yourself from that town, if you move, or if you move out of your apartment, or if you even change the furniture around a little bit to be a little bit more chi, you can turn your literal health around. So the reflector undercuts themselves when they doubt that they have an authentic self, when they doubt their ability to keep up with everybody else. Again, when you start acting like a generator, because we live in a generator world, it's just we believe our culture teaches that you have to hustle and grind and show up for the hard work and, be a real, it's like so broy. Um, that's just not, that is not the gift of the reflector. And it sends you off on this like wild goose chase, um, pursuing an identity that was never right for you in the first place. Um, Let me just go back really fast too, that a lot of that is similar for what the projector, how the projector will undercut themselves too. So this like recognizing that your penetrating aura might put people off, or recognizing that vocalizing your what you see that's wrong makes people reject you. You can get really bitter. And so you'll shrink in on yourself. You'll stop sharing what you see that's wrong. And that's literally pushing your gift down, 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 deeper into your body. And if you are not willing to at least exercise the energy that's trying to get out of you to showcase what you know to be true and to shine that light that is coming out of you, beaming out of you to say, hey, I see something wrong with this situation. Um, I had I'm gonna have to do another little video. I like my son totally projected us recently. He's a 4/6 projector, and he completely saved us from a major disaster on our vacation. And I'm spacing on what it is now, but I will share that with you guys. It was so great. And it was just like it was a beautiful way that he raised his voice and said, we're not doing that, and then he listed all the things that would be wrong with if we had taken this bus to this town, whatever. I don't even remember what it was, but I'll share that with you guys. So I wanted to make sure I touched on the ways the projector undercuts themselves, and so how we make these excuses for ourselves that say, oh, you don't have to be near me, you don't have to hire me, you don't have to invite me to the party, you don't have to come out with me, we don't have to meet for coffee if you don't want to, it's totally cool, you don't have to buy my product because it's probably not that good anyway. We all fucking do this to ourselves, and it's time to stop. So use your type to start digging into the powers that you really do have, that you've had all along, that were never a problem in the first place, but that you probably just packed down inside of you and tried to hide because you got shamed for it at some point. So you can reconnect with and get in touch with again the radiance that really is you, because it needs to shine. This world cannot survive on a bunch of people trying to mimic one another. We're not getting anywhere with that. We've been trying that for a long time. And now it's time to really, really embrace the truth of who you are and the radiance you do have uniquely. And you can access it now. This is like all it is a map. The human design chart gives you the map for what those powers are. So that's what the Radiant Badass Toolkit will show you on the numbers. So now that you have this little introduction into what your type has to do with it, this will give you the numbers, and it'll show you each of the superpowers that your body contains and how to use them for the best. And it also shows you what you do to show them when they're not at their best. And you might think they don't even have, if they're just a trait that you should be ashamed of, but they're not. There's a good way to use them. The one I always use as an example is gate 38, which if you have this one lit up in your chart, you'll notice it's at the very, very bottom in what's called the root center. And 38 reaches upward toward the like left side of the chart toward gate 28. Gate 38 is called the fighter. And the fighter is what will make you beat your chest and puff that chest out like an angry pigeon. It will cause you to do what I did when my mother said is I was born with my hand on my hip. Always ready for a fight. Always. And learning that I had that 40 years into my life made me realize that while I was born with that, and I showed it and I showed it and I showed it, and every time I showed it, I got slammed for it, that I buried it. By the time I was like 22, you wouldn't see a trace of it unless I was hammered. Don't give Janine whiskey because then the beer muscles come out, right? Well, the whiskey muscles. The Irish temper comes out. The red hair starts flaring. Um, Not a good trait to have, right? Except I didn't know there was a good way to use it. And there is. And it's a social justice warrior. It is the guy, it is standing up for the little guy. It is an impassioned, courageous, willing to fight when the time is right, to choose the battles where somebody really needs you to step up to the plate, do the right thing, even if everybody else is terrified to do it. I'll do it. I got the fighter in me. This is what I want for you guys. I want you to realize the gifts that you actually have, because you may have been thinking of them your entire life as drawbacks or flaws or character flaws or personality mess ups, and they're not. Okay, so that's what the toolkit's going to do for you if you're interested in learning about what those numbers actually mean. I would love for you to download your copy today. Go ahead and get 10% off right now if you go to my website under the Toolkits and Charts tab, scroll to the bottom, type in your birth information in the little form, and it'll pop out your free chart, and you'll get to see what all your gates and all your shapes and all your numbers look like, and your lines and your symbols, and it'll show you your type, right? And then at the very bottom of that, there's an order now button, and it's green, and you can go ahead and click on that, and it'll take you to the payment page, and there's a special place for promotion, special promo code, enter Gates HD, all caps, GATES HD, and you get 10% off. Hey. And boom, gets emailed to you instantaneously. I want you to have that. Okay. You guys are the best. Happy reading, happy living, happy experiencing this beautiful thing called life. Go be radiant. Bye.